Hey everyone, it's Kenji and we're going to barbecue some chicken. So, when I'm talking barbecue today, I'm talking about it in sort of the sense of the American South, you know, slow and slow with smoke. So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to our kettle grill setup. You can do this over a gas grill as well, but I prefer using a kettle grill with charcoal for when I'm doing smoke. And I'll explain why in a second, but we got charcoal briquettes, which for barbecue, you know, for low and slow things, I find briquettes to be better than lump charcoal because briquettes are dense and they're reliable, so they have a sort of slow, even heat, whereas lump charcoal tends to be a little more uneven. It can burn hotter, but it's harder to predict exactly how fast it's going to burn, and it tends to burn up a lot faster. So I got a chimney starter here. I'm going to tear off a bit of the bag. Crumple it up and get it under here. Chimney starter, by the way, the best way to get a grill going. You don't need to bother with lighter fluid. Definitely don't get the matchlight stuff because that stuff always ends up smelling like lighter fluid when you're done. So basically all you got to do is get a piece of paper under here, get it going, just like that. And then that fire is going to basically take care of itself. All that coal is going to light up on its own. It'll take about 15 minutes and it'll be ready to go. And in the meantime, I'm going to get a beer. And I'm going to rub my chicken. So chicken legs is what I'm going with. So thighs and drumsticks. I actually just bought these pieces individually already portioned. Thighs and drumsticks tend to work better than breasts. Breasts tend to dry out when you do this kind of low, slow thing. Although, you know, if you want to, you can sort of brine breasts and inject them and do all these kind of things that'll help them stay more juicy. But thighs and drumsticks stay juicy on their own, so you don't need to really worry about that. So I've got a dry rub going on here. This rub is, the recipe's on Serious Heats. It's about 1/3 cup of paprika, 1/3 cup of brown sugar, I believe a 1/4 cup of chili powder. Then there's also a little bit of cumin, some coriander seed, some black pepper, garlic powder, onion powder. I'll put the exact recipe up on the screen here. I'll show it to you as I browse on Serious Heats, but you can always follow the link in the description and get the exact recipe. Also, you don't have to use this particular barbecue rub. You can just kind of use your favorite recipe or use a store-bought blend. It doesn't really matter too much. Barbecue is really more a technique than it is a specific flavor. So I'm going to be pretty generous with this rub here. Really nicely coat all the pieces. This is one of those times when a 1/4 sheet pan or half sheet pan like this comes in really useful. Actually, this is a 1/4 sheet. So really get it all over. It's called a rub, it's not called a sprinkle. So you really want to rub it in there. And so the reason I prefer charcoal over gas is because gas, by its very nature, it requires more oxygen than the charcoal to combust, and you can't really control the vents on a gas grill. The reason you can't control the vents on a gas grill is because the gas grill manufacturers don't want the flame to accidentally go out because of lack of oxygen, and then you end up building up gas inside there, and then when you try and ignite it, it all explodes. So gas grills are designed to always have a constant flow of oxygen going through, and if there's a way for oxygen to get in, it means that there's a way for smoke to get out. So even if you put wood, you get one of those little smoking boxes, which I have for your gas grill. Even when you get one of those and stick it on there, you're never going to capture the smoke in there in the same way that you can on a charcoal grill. A charcoal grill, you have basically as much control as you want. You can close off the bottom vents and close off the top vents and really trap that smoke in. Of course, it makes the flame go lower, but that's fine for when we're doing barbecue. Whereas on a gas grill, you cannot. All right, so now I'm going to wait for this charcoal chimney to go, and so I guess I will be back. I'm going to wash my hands in this jar in the meantime. I'll be back in about 15 minutes. So now what we're going to do, so you can see all the charcoal is lit. What I'm going to do is I'm going to spread them over one side, just like that. just like that, into a nice even layer. Then I'm gonna get my grill grates on. Oops. And if you do have grates that have these openings like this, you want to position them so that you can add more coals later on. Potentially, you might not have to, but you definitely want to be able to add some wood. All right, and so then what I'm going to do, these grates are nice and clean. If they're not, you get a scraper like this. If they're really cruddy, what helps is if you first cover the whole thing with a lid, let it preheat with the vents open so that it preheats kind of at maximum heat. Let it preheat for about 5 minutes, and then all the crud should come right off once the grill grates are hot. But this one's pretty clean. So wire grate grill brush, that's the best kind of grill brush to use. And so what I'm going to do is I have a little bit of oil here and some wadded up paper towels. And dip them in the oil. This is kind of like, you know, seasoning your skillet. You want to get a layer of oil on there just so that the chicken is not going to stick. Because, you know, the chicken has sugar on it, so that can tend to stick quite a bit, and then chicken skin just generally sticks on its own. So you do want to oil them up nicely. All right, and then we just go right on the cooler side of the grill. So this is what's called a 2-zone fire. A 1-zone fire would be if all your coals are sort of spread evenly across the cooking surface. A 2-zone fire is when you have all the coals on one side and no coals on the other. And then there's a thing that we call a modified 2-zone fire, and that's where you have most of the coals on one side, but some of the coals on the other side. And almost, I would say about 99% of the time that I'm grilling, and maybe 90% of the time I'm grilling, I'll use a 2-zone fire like this. It's good for low and slow cooking because you get indirect heat, but it's also good for high heat cooking because you get a really concentrated zone of high heat over here. But if your things start to flare up or overcook, you can easily shift them to the other side, or you can rotate them around like that. To get them off the heat real easily. All right, so we got our chicken on. I'm gonna go with some wood. Some people tell you to soak your wood chunks or your wood chips. I have not found it makes any difference at all, so I don't. I'm going with apple wood here. I'll start with a couple chunks, and then as those go down, I will add some more. So wood on. We want the vents. So chicken cooks relatively fast. You know, it's like a 30 to 40 minute thing. So you don't need to go super low heat. You know, something like ribs or brisket, you would go real low heat. These ones, which means that you would keep the vents mostly closed and use fewer coals. For this one, we're going to leave the vents about halfway open. And I'm going to leave these top vents halfway open. And I'm going to position it so that the vents are over the chicken. That way, as the heat goes up into this thing, it's gonna, see, it pulls air from the bottom. The hot air travels up and over that way, and it kind of creates a convection current that goes around this way and pulls the smoke over those chicken pieces, which is what we want. So there we go. So I'm gonna leave this sitting here for, I'm gonna let it cook for, well, we were aiming for the chicken to be at about 130 degrees or so before we start to finish it, 120 to 130 degrees. So I'll be back in about half an hour or so. All right, so we're gonna check on this chicken. Oop. There, be careful not to melt my hose. So we're looking for like around 120 to 130, and that's where we're at. Yeah, perfect. Around 120 to 130, that's when we want to brush it with our sauce. So this is also a homemade barbecue sauce, but you can use your store-bought sauce is fine. This sauce is made with a mixture of chicken broth, molasses, ketchup, dry mustard, vinegar, brown sugar. What else is in there? Some of this spice rub is in there. Some of the spice rub is in there. And I think that's about it. Oh, also some grated onion and grated garlic. Again, the recipe, I'll put it up. I'll scroll through it as I'm brushing here. I'll show it to you on the screen. And then I'll also link in the description. I'll link directly to the recipe on Serious Eats. So we're brushing the top side of this chicken here. Okay. And now the idea here, you don't want to put on your barbecue sauce too early when you're making barbecue chicken, because if you do, it'll burn. By the way, this is like a Kansas City style barbecue, so sort of sweet and sticky. It's what when you think of what most people outside of the American South, when they hear barbecue, it's what they think of. Although there are of course many other styles of barbecue as well. But this is kind of the sort of, you know, if I went to a cafeteria and I ordered barbecue something, this is what it would come out as, sticky and sweet. Of course, ours is going to be a lot better than what you got in your cafeteria. All right, so brush the chicken, cover her up again, and we're going to let her go for another 5 minutes. So, all right, so you can see the sauce has started to dry out a little bit. Now we're going to add a second coat. It's just like painting a room, you know. You want to go on in multiple coats so that you can build in that flavor in layers. And that rub is kind of like your paint primer. It kind of helps that flavor stick on there. This brush is a little better than the last one I had. This is one of those OXO silicone brushes, which are, you know, I find them to be nice. They hold sauce well, but they don't distribute sauce as evenly as a real good quality sort of, you know, boar bristle brush does. Although, you know, the advantage of these brushes is that they last basically forever. And you never have that problem where you accidentally get like bristles onto your food. All right, so at this point, what I'm going to do, actually, we're going to close up one more time and let it dry a little bit longer. Let's see where our temperature's at. We want it to be finished at least 155 to 160 degrees at the end, and I think we'll get there easily. All right, we're going to do this for another 5 more minutes. All right, so now we're going to carefully flip this chicken over. Just like that. So that the sauce side is down. And then we're going to take this whole grate, spin it around so that the chicken's over the hot side. There we go. And we're going to brush that second side. And I don't know if you noticed, but when I put these drumsticks down initially, I position them such that, you know, drumsticks, there's one side that has more skin than the other, where you can kind of pull the skin over the top of the drumstick. So I positioned it, at least I tried to. I might have messed up on one or two of them, but I positioned it so that that side was up first. You always want to present, with barbecue chicken, you want to do the presentation side, that is the side with like the most skin, the nicer looking side. You put that side up to start with. That way it gets the most of the glaze, and then it gets sort of crispy at the end. We're going to crisp these up over the ends of these coals. All right, so lid back on one last time, and this is going to go for another about 5 more minutes. All right, so I think we are pretty much done here. Let's check on that. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. Go. Oops. Nice. All right. So this final side will just go for just like another 2 minutes or so, and then we're ready. What I'm doing is I'm serving this with this this salad I made. So this was some leftover grilled corn from the other night that I combined with some lime juice, olive oil, crumbled cotija cheese, diced nectarines and peaches, cherry tomatoes, red onion, and then I tossed that all with some arugula, and that's it. Very simple. What we'll do is we'll put this on that plate there. And then these guys serve just like this. So people who want extra sauce can have it. And people who like their chicken, appropriately sticky can have it as is, and people who want it extra sticky can get that extra sauce. Oh, someone's got a drone up ahead. Probably the neighbors. The neighbors definitely know when I'm shooting out here, so maybe they're spying. I think they actually watch my videos too. If they do, hi. Hi, Benji. Hi, Kim. Hi, Steve. All right. Oh, okay, Hamon. You want a little piece of chicken? Here. Let's see, what can we grab for him? There's a piece of chicken that had a little meat sticking out. Okay. Here you go, Hamon. Come here. Woo. Come here, buddy. Oh, yeah. Okay, Shopper. Yes, you get some too. Here. You know what? I'm going to take a bite just so I can do my thing for the camera. All right, Shopper, you ready? You are definitely ready. Here, come here. All right, Shabu, sit. Sit. Good girl. No, sit. Sit. Good girl. All right. Here, I'll take a bite, and you can have a bite at least. Shabu. Mmm. Whew. That inside is hot. You know, it's on the outside, Shabu. I almost just called her Shabu Alicia, which is my daughter's name. Sit. Good girl. All right. See you later, guys, gals, non-binary pals.